Okay, welcome back. Okay, before I introduce our next speaker, I'll just remind you again, if you're interested in the Sunday Hazak Walk this coming Sunday, sign up today or sign up online. I'll just remind you our next Hazak Monday is in 2 weeks on March 18th. We're going to be hearing from from Cantor Jackie Raffi on the music and legacy of Debbie Friedman, and then a talk on the U.S. Supreme Court, non-elected legislators or impartial arbiters. I remind you again, after this talk, we have our lunch break. We have our bagels, cream cheese, tuna, maybe egg salad, cookies, etc. for $10 per person, unless you brought your own. And then following that, at 12:45, we break into either the Hazak Torah study, which will be in the Bernstein balcony, and that will be with Rabbi Feinstein today, or the Great Decisions discussion group, which will be in the youth lounge, and the topic today is China and the U.S., which is current. For when? Rabbi Feinstein. Yes, he's got somewhere else to go apparently at the time. So our next speaker is Roz Rothstein. We're really excited to have her join us today from StandWithUs, talking about anti-Semitism, anti-Zionism on campuses and beyond, and what comes next. I'll just point out that Roz brought a number of handouts that are out on the display table. You may be interested, certainly after hearing her talk, to pick up a few of these. One is 10 things you need to know about the October 7th war. So let me introduce you to Roz. Roz is the daughter of 2 Holocaust survivors, and she is the co-founder and CEO of StandWithUs, a 22-year-old international nonpartisan education organization working on 6 continents. Which one aren't you working on? Antarctica. StandWithUs fights anti-Semitism and supports Israel, and has become one of the most significant, fastest growing players in the pro-Israel education space. StandWithUs inspires and educates hundreds of thousands of middle school, high school, and college students every year through fellowships, internships, and curricula. Their social media platforms reach millions of people each week, and they have a powerful legal department, a Holocaust education department, and a growing coalition of non-denominational Zionist rabbis. Before co-founding StandWithUs, Roz worked as a professional in Los Angeles Jewish community and then became a family therapist for 2 decades. And since the inception of StandWithUs, the Forward magazine has twice named Roz one of the 50 most influential Jews in America. And the Jerusalem Post has twice named her once one of the 50 most influential Jews in the world. Roz, we welcome you to Hazak. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to speak here again. I have been here in the past, and it's nice to see your faces. We spent 22 years building an organization, 22 years. And all of the things that we have done related to fighting anti-Semitism and supporting Israel. So we were already supporting Israel, already fighting anti-Semitism when October 7th happened. And since that time, each one of our departments, and there are 15 departments that StandWithUs, high school, college, middle school, social media, legal, etc. Since October 7th, each one of our departments has gone on steroids to meet the needs that are going on right now. So let's for just a moment acknowledge October 7th. This is a very hard time for the Jewish people and for our allies. We do have allies. And you should acknowledge their support when you feel support from our allies that are not Jewish. This is a very difficult time for us. We've never, ever been through anything like this before. Losing 1,200 people in a day on that Black Shabbat, as they call it. And I don't know if you know this, but there are 14,000 people that have been injured. 14,000 that people don't even mention. And of course, our hostages are still captive and being tortured with the captivity in the tunnels of Hamas. And, you know, we are all in a state of limbo, with the hostages still being held captive and with the war that is going on right now. And so everybody, all of you, each one of you, has to find your own way to cope during these very difficult times. And I always begin all of my talks by asking, how is everybody doing during these very difficult times? What are you doing to take care of yourself and to not forget about everything that's going on in Israel? How are you doing personally? Does anybody want to share how you are personally coping during these very different and challenging times? Anybody? What are you doing for yourself? I'll tell you one thing you're doing. You're here and you're gathering, and that is a form of therapy. We all know because of Shiva how brilliant the Shiva process is. You lose something, you lose somebody significant to yourself. And what is the first thing that everybody does? They gather. They support each other. That's what these gatherings are about now, and you should do more of it because it is helpful, it's therapeutic. Yes?
So what I do is try not to watch a television, and I watch it all the time.
So how do you try not to and still watch it all the time?
I'm here to find that out.
You're here to find out? Well, I think we all try to stay on top of what's going on, but it is pretty upsetting, and you don't want to not know, right? You don't want to not know what's going on, and you want to watch different sources because you can't get a full story from anybody. Can't get a full story on CNN, can't get a full story anywhere. So you have to really watch multiple sources. Anybody else want to share? What are you doing?
Thank you. My grandnephew was at the rave, the thing, and he saw his friend, two of his friends killed beside him. So he phoned his father, who said, run, and told him the direction to run. And he ran like 20 miles.
Wow.
And then he reported to his place. And I tried to write to them and ask them how they're doing. But of course, they can't really say, you know, we know it's really awful. Two of them have come out of Israel to visit and stay here for a while, just to relieve the tension. But watching the news, I can't take my eyes off the news either. And people say, don't do that because look what you're doing to yourself. The truth is, I want to stay in touch with all of it because I feel it's the only thing we can do.
It's not the only thing we can do. It's not. That's why I brought it up. We can do other things, and we'll be talking about that today. So listen carefully, because we will be talking about what we can be doing in addition to staying informed and staying in touch with your family. Anybody else want to share quickly? What are you doing to survive this very unusual, very different time?
My name is Mike, and I was born in Israel. And I have such a conflict with what is going on. A lot of my Israeli friends hate Netanyahu, hate what's going on, almost predicted something like this will happen. And on the other hand, we love Israel, and I don't see how it can end well. We really need to get rid of Hamas, but what is going on there with the Palestinians, so many being killed, is not acceptable, and I'm very conflicted because I love Israel and I hate what the government is doing
Yeah,
We were
okay.
always very proud of the Israeli military. They really failed us on October 7th, and so I'm very conflicted.
Careful to cast blame. I have information I can't share. And when everything comes out, you'll see there really isn't anybody to blame but Hamas. So thank you for that. Yeah, some people are conflicted, but conflicted about what? Okay, yes?
Could I just say something? We're all so connected and literally trying to find out. Most of us have friends and relatives in Israel. Could I just ask Jill? Jill, are you here? Where's Jill?
Jill is behind you.
Okay, Jill lets all of us know and keeps reminding us and sending emails how you can help. Would you just mention what you do, Jill?
Hi.
Hi, Jill.
Thanks to incredible organizations like Stand With Us and APEC and other organizations, it's very distressing watching the news. So I came up with this newsletter or e-blast of sorts. It's like 10 things you can do for Israel in 10 minutes or less. And I circulate it every few days so that, notwithstanding the concern and challenges that we're having with the reality of what life is like in the ground, what life is like on the ground, you can know that you're doing something. So you're calling your member of Congress and asking them to support Israel. You're asking them to condemn Hamas. You're writing to the United Nations and, saying that they need to stand with women. So it's
Good
that.
luck with that one, yeah.
Yeah. And then also for those people that are on social media, I just feel that we, the Jewish people, have to bring light. And so we have so many things to be proud of and to show your Jewish pride.
Thank you. Thank you, Jill, for all that. Activism, that's so important. Social media is an important place to work if you are on social media. How many of you are at least on Facebook? Okay, good. Anybody on Twitter? Okay. So, I mean, we do what we can. How many of you have ever written a letter to the editor when you get upset? Just make sure that you have a sort of a balanced presentation when you write your letter to the editor, and you have a greater chance of having it published. So all these things are super important, but going back to October 7th, the world is now kind of divided into before October 7th and after October 7th for the Jewish community worldwide. And our students, God bless them, our high school students, even middle school students, and our college students thought after October 7th that they would go back to their environments with their peers and maybe get some support. So we all know that that did not happen, especially on college campuses, because that is very public. You've heard about the different college campuses that have been brought to task because of everything that is going wrong on those campuses. You haven't heard about the high schools that are also facing similar issues, but nobody's talking about it. The reason I know this is because we now have a legal department that is getting bombarded by students who are suffering anti-Semitism like we have never seen in our lifetimes. We're talking about pushing and shoving Jews. We're talking about kids being called dirty Jews. We're talking about far too many campuses and far too many high schools that are allowing things like this to fester and not doing much of anything to fix it. That doesn't mean that it's on every single campus, and it doesn't mean that it's on every single high school. but I'll use this term. It's on way too many, on way too many. So I brought you some examples of what we have seen in the last couple of months. So in Washington, a teacher indoctrinated her second graders against Israel with a video of little children attending an anti-Israel rally, and all of them chanting. So little kids chanting from the river to the sea. And they're laughing and clapping for these children in the video, and the teacher showed this video to her second graders. In California, a high school teacher used biased materials in the classroom to teach students about Israel, including resources that denied the Jewish connection to Israel. At a Skokie high school, students held a walkout for Palestine during school hours. Soon after, students made a bomb threat against the school and against a nearby synagogue. In Los Angeles, a high school social studies teacher posted on their social media account that Israel must be dismantled. In New York City, a Jewish high school teacher locked herself in an office for safety because the students were hunting for her to find out that because they found out she attended a pro-Israel rally. In Los Angeles, a Jewish high school student was physically attacked by a classmate and called a dirty Jew. At UC, so each one of these examples is a symbol of others like it. These are the stories that we're hearing now about a teacher doing something strange in a university or even in a second grade. At UC Berkeley, Bears for Palestine organized a protest in response to a pro-Israel speaker coming into the campus, which quickly turned violent. You might have read about it. And one of the kids actually got choked at the neck because she was participating with the speaker. At Ohio State University, SJP, Students for Justice in Palestine, SJP, hijacked a student government hearing, and as one of the SJP students used the open forum to recite a speech redefining anti-Semitism. So they're telling, people who are not Jewish are telling Jews what anti-Semitism really is. There are many forms of anti-Semitism, and we're seeing a lot of the different forms show their faces. On social media, it's pretty frightening to see conspiracy theories and people getting hounded because of their pro-Israel views. I personally just had a death threat. I had to be in touch with the FBI. I just had a death threat. I mean, a very serious one. So, you know, this is what is really going on. And the question is, you know, what are our students doing about it, and what are we doing about it? So, 2 weeks ago, we brought 500 students together. 250 were from high schools, and 250 from universities. All of them, each one of them, is a leader on their campuses or their high schools. Stand With Us invests in leaders on high schools and campuses. We brought them together, the stories we heard from all of them, as their leadership positions, they're able to have a bird's eye view of their own campuses and high schools. The stories were unbelievable. We heard from a kid in Australia. They came from all over the world, mainly United States and Canada, but all over the world too. We had kids from Australia, South Africa, England. I mean, we had kids from everywhere. A kid in Australia reported that because her face was known, because she came out for Israel, anti-Israel students would wait outside of her classroom so that when she would come out, they would bombard her with dirty Jew and follow her and taunt her. They never touched her, but it was very close. It was, you know, within her space. That is being resolved legally. I mean, kids in the UK told horrific stories. I think UK really scared me a lot because it was very consistent across the UK. So anyways, you get the picture. You get the picture. There are a variety of forms of anti-Semitism. Our kids never quite had a break when they came back to campus or their high schools, and this is what's going on now. So we support students. The end of the story of the 500 students coming a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, together here at Los Angeles Airport at the Hilton. They were all together. And by the way, there were people outside of the Hilton protesting Stand With Us and protesting me personally. They were calling on me. Said, Rothstein, you can't hide. Okay, fine. I mean, it's crazy, but that's what's going on now. I don't care. But the kids, getting back to the kids, if I could only show you, I would show you how they didn't know each other before they arrived. But being together for 4 days, understanding that all of them, across the board, are experiencing all of this, and that they're not alone, was the gift to the students. This was the gift to the students. So that after Havdalah, we did Havdalah together, and not everybody's Jewish. Probably 95% of our kids are Jewish, 5% are not Jewish. But if you could have seen the Havdalah madness of just unity and love and the way that they were gathered and singing and dancing, it would have done your heart good. Because they knew in that moment they were not alone. And that is one of the most important ways that we fight. Our togetherness, our gathering, not only therapeutic, but it gives us strength with our voices. So when you know you're not alone, you're more apt to speak out. And the more we speak out, the stronger our voices become. The more you write a letter to the editor, the more you send emails to 10 things you could do for Israel. It is that time right now. It is I'm going to Israel twice in the next couple of months. I'm leaving Sunday just to do solidarity stuff, to sit with the family members that are still waiting for their hostages, to sit with Israeli soldiers that have been hurt. I'm going just for that. And I'll be going around the country, and for the first time I'll be going south to see the sights. But this kind of support for one another is where we're at right now. That is what we have to be doing. And that's my message to you, that there are many ways to cope, and one of those ways is to gather. Another way is to put your hands on something. So that means write a letter to the editor, do some of the things that Jill is sending out. Meditate. Meditation has been proven to lift spirits. You lift your spirit if you spend 10 minutes a day being grateful, feeling gratitude. You lift your spirits, literally, and fight depression. So that is something that everybody, and you can be grateful. You certainly should be feeling grateful for your life, for your family, for your friends, for events like this where you gather. You know, each one of us has a list of things that we feel grateful for, but do you feel it? Do you talk to yourself about it every single day? Again, 10 minutes a day of feeling gratitude lifts your spirits and fights depression. You didn't know you were going to get that from me this morning, but that's a gift. I give you a gift. Prayers, meditation, all of it helps. Sorry. You know what? That's number 8. I have 7 things, and I forgot music. And 100%, if you like music, listen to music more. Because music has an impact on your brain. Literally, it changes your brain waves. Yes. Absolutely. Dance, exercise, eat right, drink water. You know, all these things. Self-care. It's a very important time for self-care, especially if you're upset and concerned about Israel and about anti-Semitism. This is that time to take good care of yourself. Take your medication, drink water, take your vitamins, exercise, do whatever you do, and listen to music too. All right, we're going to open for questions. I've brought you some presents. The booklets that are outside are there for you. So now we can do the rest of this session as an interactive. So I would ask Joel if you could be available to help.
I just have a quick question. All this anti-Semitic activity that we're seeing, is this sort of grassroots stuff, spontaneous? You use the word consistent. Consistent always bothers me. It starts making me think of conspiracy. So how do you interpret all of that?
So there are many levels of where it's coming from. Top down, there are countries that like China, using TikTok to send out anti-Israel messaging. For example, when Generation Z, young people, enter TikTok, 65% of the material that they will automatically receive will be anti-Israel. Why? What is that about? But it's true. There's top-down Russia, China, Iran. There's top-down efforts to be involved in this way, funding Hamas, Qatar. Oh my God, Qatar. Do you know what Qatar does? They have Al Jazeera and they have AJ Plus, and they literally invest hundreds of millions of dollars in our universities. Yeah. Yes. Well, not that I can tell you, but you can easily look it up. Qatar, the Saudis, I mean, they're investing heavily in our universities, particularly Middle East studies, And when a student walks in to a graduate class in Middle East studies, there is consensus among all the professors that Israel is bad. So, you walk in and you cannot offer an alternative view to Edward Said or any of the colonialism and apartheid and all that. You as a student are going to be hard pressed to bring up anything that is different from the consensus. And that has been coming for many, many, many years. From the grassroots, we have one group that is very problematic on college campuses, that is Students for Justice in Palestine. They've been very good at organizing. It was started by Hatem Bazian, a professor at Berkeley, with one SJP in 2001, just like when Stand With Us was born in 2001. And now there are hundreds of SJPs across the country that work together and use the same strategy across campuses, which is really served them well, to use the same strategy across campuses. And so the mistake that's being made is that we have a legal department. I mentioned that we have a legal department. What we're finding is that the universities have plenty of rules, plenty of ways that they need to protect their Jewish students, but they're not following their own rules. We're in a position now where we have to force universities to either follow their own guidelines for safety for Jewish students or face a possible legal consequence. That's what's going on.
You're talking about our children, those that are in their teens and college students. Do you have support groups for them in your organization? We have a counseling center here that is basically a sliding scale, and you can talk to me about that. It's something that we could offer to students that are, I know that our rabbi has had several meetings with college students that are struggling, but it's something that we could talk about.
So, to be clear, we have two ways that we've been supporting students. One, by gathering them. We have a huge program in college, across college campuses around the world, and we have the same for high school. One of the most powerful things is to make sure they know they are not alone. We give them the tools to be able to discuss these issues with their peers. So not only are they putting their hands on these issues, if they're strong enough, but they're also educating the people around them. For those students that are not strong enough, we encourage them to join their college and their high school groups so that they're not alone. Everything is about community right now. You'll notice that a lot of synagogues have their membership up. Suddenly membership is up. Suddenly camps are closing early because they're all full. We ran a mission to Israel that's leaving in mid-May, and for the first time it filled up like that. And I have a waiting list of another 20 people that want to join that mission. People are coming out now because they want to be together. The best and I was a family therapist for 20 years. The best thing we can do right now, honestly, is to put those kids together with each other. It's very important. They need to know they're not alone. Any amount of talking is not going to be as powerful as putting them together with their peers that are like-minded.
I'm very concerned because I belong to several Facebook groups, and a lot of them are South African. I'm from China, so I'm in that group as well, and I'm watching. One of the South Africans who runs several groups, Mano Thanos is his name. He's a Greek origin ancestry, but is a South African-born person. The vitriol and the lies and the misleading of what makes a Jew and the story of Israel and everything is so painful. And every time I look at this, I'm a writer, so I think now I should maybe write something. But my kids and everyone else is telling me, don't get involved because it's ugly. They get into fights with people over it. A few Jewish people very delicately have said, you're incorrect and you're not. I would go in much stronger than that. But I'm a bit scared to get involved with them because it is dangerous now. If I get targeted by them, I'm being told that I could be targeted. So I'm not sure. Is there some way someone can go into those sites and report them for what they're actually doing?
Okay, well, let's start from the last thing you said first. Any one of us can go in and report anything. So if somebody is being vitriolic or hateful or anti-Semitic or, doing something on that level, you can report them and you don't have to worry about anything. Look, if you're so worried about somebody, bothering you, get a different name. Sign up with a different name and have a conversation. But it should never stop you from having a conversation. And I would be diplomatic and say, listen, you have your facts wrong. Here's a link and you can learn more. You got to get in there because if you know things, and these people are misinforming everybody so bad, we see it everywhere. Stand With Us is very popular on social media. We literally, in the bio that he read, but I don't know if you caught it, we literally are reaching millions of people every day now, billions since October 7th. So social media is a very important place. Social media is a very important platform for all of us, so we shouldn't shy away from it. Get yourself a different name. You could be a surname like everybody else does, like all the bad guys do.
So I have a question for you. Last Wednesday, we had College for Jewish Studies, and Stephen Windmiller and Rabbi Feinstein were talking, and one of the things I heard was they described that from the 60s to the 2000s, we were sort of in a bubble of positivity. Jewish life has thrived in America, et cetera, but certainly since October 7th, things have changed, and they're predicting we will now see much more anti-Semitism than we have over the last 50, 60 years. I mean, what is your thoughts about that? Is this here to stay? How are we going to live with this long term?
We will not allow this to stay. That is why we have just opened up a second legal front. We will fight this. We just went after MIT. We just went after Middlebury. We've gone after the Berkeley police. We are not going to allow this. Now, once you go after one university, when it becomes public, it is something that all the universities are watching and they have to deal with. So this is the work that we do, and we're fighting it, literally. We're not just talking about it or writing statistics. We are literally in there fighting against this anti-Semitism. No, it cannot stand. A second grade teacher cannot indoctrinate her little 7 and 8 year olds. That's not going to keep happening, and we're going to take it down one by one until they don't exist. Now, does that mean that all anti-Semitism is magically going to poof? No, it doesn't. They will try. They will try to do what they can until these things are shut down. But we must have no tolerance for this hate. We must have no tolerance for hate.
Any other?
That's right. That's right. Right. It's a bad surprise. It's a bad situation, but we are fighting back.
Is it possible that the increase in the level of anti-Semitism we see is due in part to the way Israel is conducting the war?
So, I will remind you that on October the 8th, people were on the streets screaming against Israel and justifying the rapes and the beheadings of babies and calling it resistance. I will remind you that people were ripping down the faces of posters of the hostages well before Israel even began to decide what they're about to do. There are many things that may be going right and many things that may be going wrong in this unprecedented war against Hamas. So, look, Hamas has promised to do October 7th again and again and again. They're promising. All of their literature talks about how they want to annihilate the Jewish people and the state of Israel. So, no, I don't think that it has a thing to do with Israel, although, since it's an unprecedented war where Hamas is covering themselves with civilians, including children, things are going to go wrong and people will be hurt. And in the course of this war, many people have been hurt. Do I believe the Hamas statistics of 30,000 people dead? I don't. But I know that there are people dying. In other words, there is tragedy going on right now, but some newscasters are literally quoting Hamas statistics without saying that this is coming from the Ministry of Health of Hamas. They don't want to detract from it. So that's problematic. Yes. That's true too. So Israel has a number now that 13,000 of the number are Hamas operatives. 13,000 that have been killed in Gaza are Hamas operatives. What the other number is, we don't know, of civilians. We do know there are civilian casualties. We do know that it's horrific. We know, but the numbers are just, but nobody really cares if it's accurate or it's not. They just throw the numbers out that they have from Hamas. I mean,
one of the more things that's been upsetting to me is about the politics of this and how it's affecting us here in the U.S., and particularly with regard to specifically Jewish politicians who are making statements which I consider are against Israel. And this is quite upsetting, and particularly seeing as how it is, however you feel about Netanyahu, attacking him directly and having it done, whatever you feel about this president or the up-and-coming president, and their view of what it's going to be, how they view this right now. Don't attack southern Gaza. Don't go in. And that Israel doesn't have the right to do this. Yes, they say that they do. On the other hand, this is very upsetting how our own government is in effect handling this, and some of whom are Jewish people.
Well, I'll just say this. There's a pattern. Every time Israel goes to war, at the beginning, everybody is very supportive. That lasts for about maybe 5 or 6 days. After 5 or 6 days, you start to hear the criticism. It's always the same, by the way. Always the same. Well, you know, maybe they went too far, maybe they did too much, and maybe they need to stop. So at the beginning, we're in love with everybody's so supportive and everybody is so helpful, and then all of a sudden, you know, everything deteriorates from there. But it's always the same, so you can predict it. You can predict exactly how it will go in terms of support. I agree with you. It's sad that our politicians are, you know, saying things that are disturbing and upsetting, but that's the way it is. You know, that's just the way it is. Look, Israel has got to, you know, do what it's going to do right now. There's lots of pressure on Israel from every possible angle, and we'll see what, nobody knows what's going on. Right now we're sitting here. We don't know, which you're going to read later. You're going to hear later what happened just now in the last few hours. We don't know. I do know that 250 Israeli soldiers are dead since the beginning of the war in Gaza, and that does not include the soldiers that were murdered on October 7th. So 250, they just hit 250. That's an easy number to remember and to think about and to keep in your heart. Yes.
I would like to bring, it's a comment and a question. My daughter is at Berkeley today. She, just for information, the speaker whom they attacked last Monday is back in Berkeley today to give a talk, and I don't know how security is going to handle that at Berkeley. One of the things
Excuse me, Ron Bar Yoshafat is
yes,
back. Okay.
in Monday, today.
Okay.
Today.
By the way, he used to work at Stand With Us. Go ahead.
Okay. What I would like to comment on is the effort which Berkeley's parents are putting out. We have a group of parents,
I know.
and we are sending email after email to the chancellor, to the regents, to the governor, to practically everybody, trying to ask the university to provide more protection to Jewish students. For a month now, the Palestinians are blocking the main gate of Berkeley, the Satter gate, with a post. And so students, yeah, you can get through that because there's too small gate around it, but the only way you get through is by being haggled by the Palestinians. There is a recording of, I think it's an AI recording, of a bombing in Gaza, which you can hear going through that gate continuously, day after day, literally for a whole month. The university is doing absolutely nothing about this.
Well, yeah, that's going to turn on them.
Well, I am aware of at least 3 different investigations. The Department of Education, there is a criminal investigation, but the problem is that there is no result.
Well, not yet. It takes time. These things take time. You know, we have investigations going on at different universities. It takes time. But meanwhile, the university gets a lot of bad news, bad press, and they don't like it. You know, it's going to hurt their funding. You could see a lot of Jewish funders are dropping out. You could see a lot of Christian funders are dropping out. So they don't like it. They don't like this mess. They don't like the noise. So be assured that even during the process, it's harmful to the university to allow all this to just go on without a response. So, and we're involved in Berkeley as well. But just quick story, George Washington University, you'll like this story. So a professor at George Washington University, which has got a very bad reputation anyways of anti-Semitism, just kind of systemic. Her name is Shiha, Professor Shiha. So she welcomed her students to a graduate psychology class that was mandatory. And she said, okay, we're going to go around the circle and tell us where you're from. And 2 or 3 of the students said they were Jewish and Israeli or Israeli. She said, oh, it's not your fault that you were born in Israel. That's how it began, and it proceeded to go downhill, and she started penalizing these students. They went to the administration, told the administration what was going on. The administration then went back to Shiha, the professor, and now it got worse, and the students were almost put on probation at the school. The students then came to us. They're not in any of our programs, but they came to us for legal. And so we launched a Title VI at the university, against the university, a Title VI complaint. Since we did that, there's an ongoing investigation. It takes time. There's an ongoing investigation by the Department of Education against George Washington University, and we just found out a few weeks ago that the professor has resigned and is going to Qatar to teach.
Is Stand With Us a charitable organization in terms of the IRS? Because I tried to go on Fidelity Charitable and give you a donation, and I couldn't find Stand With Us there.
You can't find Stand With Us?
No.
StandWithUs.com.
On Fidelity Charitable. Yeah.
StandWithUs.com.
Oh, okay.
And then at the top, if you want to make a donation, and that will help. What?
It's .com?
StandWithUs.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wonder if it would be helpful if somehow the amount of money that's been pouring into this country from the Middle East, from Arab countries, which has been going on even when I was in graduate school 35, 40 years ago, it's been going on very gradually. Would that be helpful to show the American people how much of that money is being used to subsidize students in the United States, departments in the United States, organizations on universities?
I mean, those numbers are out there. It's not like a big secret. And people do know that the countries like the Saudis and Qataris are funding these things. And so it's out, those numbers are out there. You can find them. It's kind of frightening that nobody cares, really. But universities need money, and they like to, get those donations. And then with it come the strings of control, unfortunately. And so I'll never forget, years and years ago, George Washington University had a program from the Middle East Studies Department that was teaching high school teachers. So the campus had a program for high school teachers to teach them their version of history and, disconnect the Jewish people from the land of Israel, and all about colonization and apartheid and all the terms that we all hear. So it's kind of frightening. It's like a takeover. And yes, whoever said, you can get a little frightened of conspiracies. Yeah, no, it's right in your face. It's right in your face. It's not like you have to guess, oh, is it a conspiracy? No, there are some countries that want to change the thinking in America and want to influence, like with AJ Plus from Qatar, or, Al Jazeera from Qatar. They want to change the thinking and the perspective of people here in the United States and mess us up. to weaken us, and so that's it. I'm not making it up. Yes.
I just wanted to share two practical things that you can do as an individual. I am not, unfortunately, able to be a major donor to my university, but I have been a loyal one, and so for 65 years, I've contributed to their annual funds. And this year, I wrote them that until they clean up their act, I'm going to take that modest but repeated annual giving and shift it to the Federation of LA Israel Emergency Fund. And I've done that already, and I'm continuing to do that. The second thing, though, is really something you should consider, and that is I was very fortunate to have selected a Jewish cardiologist because I just went for my annual, and he gave me 10 points, systolic and diastolic, reading that was attributable to the personal agony and aggravation since September 7th, because I showed him where it went off the track, which was September 8th.
I believe you.
October
I
8th.
believe you. We have to acknowledge that we are impacted by everything that is going on. We have to acknowledge that this is painful and has an impact. That's why I'm saying this is a time for self-care. You know, take that walk. Be grateful. Go outside. Look at the blue skies. Sit in the sun for 5 minutes. You know, it's an important time to do that. Take care of yourself. We need you now. Yeah. Jill.
Hi. So, Stand With Us is absolutely an incredible organization, and I am grateful for everything that you're doing. I'm just wondering, because we hear, these students come in and then they're gone in 4 years. What are we doing to help enlighten the DEI units on campus, those new departments, which we know many of which are spreading Jew hatred and lies, or dealing with developing better relationships with people that are on campus, whether they're advisors or heads of departments who maybe just don't know better, and we can educate them because they're the ones that are going to be there, that seem to be there for many years. And as the students come and go, I think that what are we doing to help ensure that when those leaders are gone, that the professionals are there and at least are sharing the Jewish story and the Israel story?
Well, okay. So for 22 years, we train students, and then those students train their peers, and then everybody together selects the following year's leaders. Every program we run is a year-long program, and now it's almost the stability that we're looking for on the campuses that are the most difficult campuses, so that we have that kind of stability. That being said, we need to really bolster our faculty, the faculty that does care about Israel and the Jewish people. We have to keep them strong and informed and show them that they're not alone, because they're the ones who are on the ground and remain on the ground and can mentor students and can make sure those students know about Stand With Us if they don't, but most of them do. But, you know, these are the ways that we can help. DEI is a whole different game. Thank you for bringing it up. So it's very problematic now. The world has been divided into the oppressed and the oppressor. And, you know, conveniently, Jewish people are being left out of ethnic studies, stories, and curriculum. Our suffering and our being a minority that has suffered so greatly is not being included in the ethnic studies curriculum. So we have a whole division now just devoted to that, because it really is problematic. And it kind of dictates what we're seeing in many schools and how things are being, the perspective that judges and creates the plans going forward about anything, with DEI as a backdrop, and Jews mainly being white is what they say. I mean, white, although we weren't white enough for the Nazis, whatever. You know, you're not here and you're not there. In Yiddish, you would say nicht dahin and nicht daher. By the way, I'm a daughter of 2 Holocaust survivors, which has really informed my perspective. So, were we white enough for the Nazis? No. Are we too white now for DEI? Yes. And if you're Jewish and you're white, God help you with DEI. But anyway, so we have an effort just dedicated to that, to ethnic studies, DEI, and all of that stuff.
I have one question. As a parent or a grandparent, I have a granddaughter that goes to the University of Oregon. And I would say she's shy in speaking up. But how does how does a parent and or grandparent, can we check with StandWithUs to see how you've tracked different universities so that we know? Because there was an incident in her own apartment where she was staying where 2 of her roommates were not Jewish, and they were on social media, and they don't really know anything, and were all of a sudden pro-Palestinian, and she didn't even know how to handle it, and she kept saying, it's not true, but she didn't have the ability to speak back. Went in her room and cried, called home. My son-in-law called Hillel to see what was happening, and they said nothing really, whatever. And then these girls did come back. They upset her and said, we're really sorry. We didn't mean to upset you. But how do we follow through and get to you and ask for what department to find out about that particular university or any others that some of our grandchildren or children go to?
So we have created materials on a variety of topics. Some of them are out there. One of them that is not out there is answering difficult questions about Israel. We have a fantastic booklet, and it includes all the issues related to October 7th. And these are created by our research and writing team, and they're fantastic. So even if a student is not involved at StandWithUs, they can use our material any day of the week. It's available online, it's free, they can ask for it. Parents and grandparents need to know that this is available, that we have this, and that we can support students. But the number one thing to tell your kids is to make sure they're not alone, that whatever's happening on the campus, that they get together with other like-minded kids. So whether it's Chabad or Hillel or whatever it is, or an outside synagogue like VBS, whatever it is, that they know they're not alone. Contacting StandWithUs for information. We will always be there. We have never, ever said no to a student. Whether or not they're an intern or a fellow, doesn't matter. We will support them. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Well, on behalf of our Hazak program, thank you for joining us. Thank you very, very much.